Good evening, sir, and good evening, everyone. Today, I will be discussing about labor and employment here in Canada, prepared by Feli Palencia, instructor Boris Biasaga, and July 23, 2024. Agenda: Introduction, Legal Framework, Employment Standards, Human Rights, Pay Equity, occupational health and safety, employment insurance, and employment termination. Introduction. In Ontario, as in other Canadian provinces, law dealings with employment, the jurisdiction of the local legislature, employment in a worker or undertaking of federal legislative power of Parliament, and other business which is integral and essential part of federal work or our undertaking. Overview of Ontario provincial legislation and regulation. Employers failing under federal jurisdiction should exercise particular care. It is awful for employers to contract out of these standards. Contractual clause or policy that undercut statutory minimum will be under force taken. Legal framework. Canada's employment law is governed by statute. Common law in 9 provinces, Quebec having no common law system. Despite variation in statutory provision, uniformity in employment standards. Number 1 is work compensation, occupational health and safety, labor relations, human rights, prohibition on harassment and discrimination. Employment standards. These minimum statutory employment standards includes things like the minimum wage for hours work, the maximum number of hours worked in a day and week, overtime rules, the minimum time required off work, vacation and public holidays, equal pay for equal work, job protective leaves of absence, and notice of severance entitlement in the event of termination of employment relationship. Human rights. All jurisdictions in Canada, federal, provincial, and territorial, have human rights. Legislation prohibiting harassment, discrimination in the employment relationship based on the grounds that usually include race, gender, age, religion, color, disability, including drugs and alcohol addiction, marital or family status, criminal record, ancestry or place of origin, sexual orientation, gender identity and gender expression. Federal works and undertaking are subject to employment equity legislation, the purpose of which is to provide employment and promotion opportunities to members of 4 protected groups: women, indigenous people, and peoples with disabilities and visible minorities. Pay equity. Pay equity legislation in Canada requires employers to review, and this legislation is present in various jurisdictions, including Manitoba, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Ontario, Quebec, Newfoundland, and Labrador. Employers must develop a pay equity plan to identify and required and correct wage and ensure equal pay for equal works and equal value of all employees. Occupational health and safety. All legislation and other measures designed to reduce the incidence of occupational and numerous obligations are placed on both employers and employee. Health and safety inspection at construction sites and industrial plants. In some jurisdictions, joint employers-employee health and safety committees are required for a larger workplace. So, employment insurance. Employment insurance, or EI, is a federal initiative governed by the Employment Insurance Act and designed to help workers adjust to economic change and compensate employees for certain leaves. It is financed through payroll taxes, varies annually, with Quebec having slightly lower premium rates due to the own business benefits administration. Employment termination. In Canada, employment termination can be terminated for cause or without cause. With some jurisdiction, limited is providing notice, and cause for termination. It is a high and can include competence, insubordination, conflict of interest, theft, and material dishonesty. And for termination without cause, employers must provide advance notice or offer compensation in lieu. Statutory minimum notice period includes sliding scale based on employee seniority, and court may determine the reasonable period of notice. So thank you everyone for listening, and I hope you got some information and you understand my topic for today. This is Felipe Palencia, and bye.